Okay. You, I had asked Craig to send out an edict in terms of what his expectations of our committee would be, and hopefully everyone received it. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. And I kind of put it into three buckets. You know, one was the request for use of our vehicles, our relationship, our role in case of a disaster, and then operations, durations during a curfew or any other time that is unusual from our normal operation.
Hey, well, let me just say one thing. It was only to the people that had volunteered to be on the committee. It wasn't sent to everybody in the board, so we'll get it to everybody.
And that's fine. That's fine. I'm talking to the committee, and hopefully everybody.
There were some.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's great. There was just.
I'm speaking to the committee, and then those who are on can request and will, because of the attendance, will receive the document. TJ, thank you. Will facilitate from this point forward. Did respond to many of our requests for information, and so this meeting basically is going to hopefully be informational so that it will help drive our recommendations. So TJ, I turn it over to you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Glenn. So I was asked to identify and make contact with agencies regarding any written policies that they would have regarding the use of rolling stock by emergency services. So what I did was I essentially put a question to them, and the question is, do you allow your rolling stock to be used by outside agencies such as fire, police, and if so, do you have any formal policies or procedures in place? So in summary, we identified 18 agencies. I was able to contact 16 of them. I received 13. But of all those respondents, I only had one that gave me a formal document, and that was Houston Metro. It was really not a policy. It was more of a procedure related to charter bus service, which is fine. But a lot of if you look at the summary sheet, the Excel sheet that should be in your board packet, a lot of people said that we say this, but they kind of put it on their website, but there was no written procedures. And a lot of the agencies I've talked to essentially do what we've done. Provide warming and cooling stations to the fire department, participate in emergency drills, and so on and so forth. So with that in mind, and also based on recent history, I went ahead and wrote a procedure for us. That procedure, typically I would like to have a policy and then a program and a procedure, but just to guide our operations department in current state, I wrote a procedure for us to address the concerns that we were having about the use of our rolling stock by the police, fire department, and so on and so forth. And we do have some obligations because we're we'll consider an emergency support function and a national response framework for an ESF1. So any transit agency like us, if it's NTA grantee, we're part of ESF1. So we just have some obligations for disaster. So, but the procedure that's in your board packet is a procedure we put together. I believe it covers a lot of the concerns. What I would like to do next, and this is of course up to further discussion, I'd actually like to write a policy for the whole agency to cover the use of rolling stock. But as far as our operations go, they now have a procedure in place that they can follow. And so I'll kind of leave it for questions at this point.
Anyone have any questions or comments?
So TJ, in the law enforcement section, when you say transport for crowd control, do you mean transport the law enforcement for crowd control, or do you mean they could use crowd control to transport protesters or demonstrators or?
No, sir. That's just officers. Transport officers. Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
In the it specifically says the buses cannot be used to transport detainees.
When it says officers here, are you intending that to mean any inside Hamilton County? I don't know if we got anybody else.
Yeah, typically mean the city of Cincinnati Police Department. That's who we exclusively work with. So far, we haven't, other than maybe some SWAT exercises with Hamilton County, we've never been asked to use our buses for transporting officers by anybody other than CPD.
Right, we've been hit by the Cincinnati earnings tax historically, and so that's changing. I think we need to have a policy that addresses, if any other police agency makes a request, I think you just have to be prepared for it in the event that it happens. And I imagine
Right.
We anticipate that as things change, that we'll be more involved with the county as well, Craig.
But if I don't know, it's not going to say it wrong, but a Silverton or a Blue Ash or anybody else has, I think we just have to make sure we know what the answer is right before the question's asked.
Right.
Well, and I know in the past, Metro and SORTA have supported what I assume is Secret Service when there have been presidential visits. And so want to make sure that falls into this policy as well. Clearly, we want to be supportive, but I think that's another consideration we may want to.
What I'd like to do is actually write a global policy. This procedure is for the operations folks. They needed something right now to cover us. But I'll take all this feedback and I'll craft it as part of the overall policy.
Did you ever find out how we were written into the state and local disaster ordinance?
But not specifically, Glenn. What I looked at is the emergency. I mentioned the emergency support function, which is what the emergency management agency runs by. So we're classified ESF1, and if you look at FTA's website, it talks about the National Response Plan and how FTA grantees are part of that. So we would be pulled into Emergency Management Association through FEMA.
So FEMA would request us.
Yes, ma'am.
And how affirmative are they? I haven't read it in its entirety, but how clear are they? And I'm going back to Craig's question. If Silverton or someone else asks us, how affirmative are they to ask us?
Well, there's a difference there, Glenn. I'll say a simple one, because it's got to be declared emergency. That's where the Emergency Management Agency for Hamilton County, Cincinnati, or FEMA comes in. It's got to be a declared emergency. Somebody like a Silverton, we may assist them with, if they want to do a SWAT exercise because one of our buses, they want to, just in case, with all police officers, if one of our buses is in Silverton and it gets hijacked, they want to be able to know how to get on that bus. So there's a little bit of difference there about how our buses may be used between the different agencies.
So do we have to respond to the different agency requests, or do we have a one size fit all?
Well, I think as far as procedure is concerned, it's good for operationally. We're fine. I think it's more of a policy statement, and maybe I can bring some more information to the next committee meeting if you'd like to see it about how the national framework works and how we fit in, because it's a bit of a puzzle. And I teach this stuff, so I understand it can be a bit dry sometimes as well. But there's a puzzle that we fit in, and it's all based on whether there's a declaration of an emergency or not.
I'm just bringing that up only because jurisdictions can deal with loopholes too.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And I think I know we had this previous situation a couple weeks ago, and that was unfortunate. But I think it's important that the agencies understand as well, because I think in that instance, right, the precedent had been we always said yes to any request. So I guess it was natural that they would make the request. So I think we got to get on the same page so we don't kind of get stuck.
Right, absolutely. But conversely, I am concerned about health and safety, and I think that's one of the tenets of our transportation system. And so, if the detainees were in an unsafe situation, are we responsible to respond? And I'm being a gadfly here, so I'm asking the question as food for thought.
Well,
Because if
I'm sorry.
anyone want to respond to that, or is
Well, if we're back in the situation we had before, what we're saying now is we're not going to transport detainees, period.
And to be clear, if the city were to get back into the situation it was in before, the police now have their own buses to transport people.
how was that received?
Very well by the police.
Okay.
I have a question about just budget ramifications. And I don't know, I doubt for some of these that we would charge the requesting agency for this, but curious if we need to think about requesting reimbursement or not. I don't know the answer, but because I just don't know how big an impact it is on the budget, but it's something that I'm wondering about.
Yeah.
Heidi went into a good area.
I'm sorry, I didn't. It's hard to do this meetings like
No, I just want to add up to what Heidi just requested. When the Secret Service asks us to use our buses, and they have to, and technically they reimburse the city for their services, are we included in that reimbursement? So I think that's a good avenue to look at to travel on.
Yes, ma'am. We on a national emergency we do get reimbursed, but this is where I think a policy where we have a memorandum of understanding will come in with local law enforcement and the fire department. There's even some requirements as far as charter bus service requirements. There's some things you have to report, some things you don't have to report. If the fire department needs us to do a cooling station, so there's an active fire and we park a bus there, and the tenants get on there, the firefighter, we actually don't have to record that as charter bus service. But there's an exception for law enforcement. If law enforcement uses it, we actually have to claim that as part of our charter bus service rules, and we can get reimbursed for it.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, I would think, providing cooling stations is an important civil service to our first responders. But like transportation, I just actually transporting, officers or whoever is, I assume, more expensive than the bus serving as a cooling station. So that makes sense to me.
Any other questions or comments on special bus services?
I'm concerned about the safety and security, this is Blake, by the way, of our employees, our operators, supervisors, anybody's involved with this service. And I want to make sure in whatever we do that that's in front of mind and that we address that. Or is that covered elsewhere, TJ? How do we take care of that?
Good morning, Blake. Well, as far as concern about transporting detainees, we've mitigated that risk by not transporting detainees. So there's that piece of it. As far as transporting law enforcement from, say, the academy where they usually stage at to some site, we have law enforcement detail that actually covers us, that provides protection. So there should be no issue there. I'm trying to roll through my head some of the scenarios. In active fire, the bus would be set up away from the active fire, so the operator and supervisor wouldn't be near that. So that's taken to account by the emergency services. And I wouldn't allow it to happen. If I thought they were going to be in danger,
did you mean, Blake, that if people are angry that we're supporting the police in this way, how do you protect the operators?
Well, the Cincinnati Police Department, they would provide protection to us.
Any other comments, questions?
So I have one more comment, just from reading the notes, and I don't mean this humorously, but I saw that one agency was using buses as barricades. Dayton. I want to make sure we put on record that I don't think we should use our buses as barricades in any situation.
I totally agree.
Then we moved on to policy surveys. Why don't we talk about that under that topic? When they did, just a question, during the hurricane in New Orleans, they used buses as barricades to keep people from going down travel certain roads or highway because of the danger. And I'm back on, the question about use of buses as barricades.
Yeah, we have never, to my knowledge, we've never been asked to have our fleet used in that manner, but we can add that to the current policy.
I would.
Yeah, we can add that to the current policy.
I would. Okay, TJ.
I think the barricade thing is interesting, and to me, barricades can be different if it's being used for protection of like a natural disaster versus
Right.
violence.
Right.
Consider all the possible scenarios. So we should consider the possible scenarios. And I was thinking barricades for protests and recent events. But I've also seen vehicles used as barricades in kind of some other safety, security scenarios that I don't think would be right for our buses, protecting buildings and such. So, just since it was brought up in another agency, I thought we should address it.
Thank you. Absolutely. All right, TJ, you want to go through your survey? Any other comments about the survey?
Well, I mean, from my perspective, what I'd like to do based on the survey plus the feedback I'm getting here is just go ahead and write a policy for us. I can bring it back to the next meeting.
Houston, I was curious about Houston's policy. Is Houston a written policy that they work by? I mean, that was approved?
What I sent you is all that Houston has.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all they have.
That's all they have. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Any comments about? I'm sorry.
A lot of the agencies put things on their website and news releases, but this is really the only formal thing I can get from anybody.
Yeah. I think broadly what the survey shows is that historically most agencies have cooperated with law enforcement for the benefit of communities, and that this recent situation has brought some of this up to light. So in Houston, their policy was after the buses were like ours, frustrated.
Right.
So
Right.
You're correct, Craig. If you read a lot of the news articles from the last event, there are a lot of transit agencies that allowed their buses to be used to move detainees, and a lot of them in the middle of the process stopped allowing their buses to be used. I think this brought something up that a lot of transit agencies, just haven't dealt with. That what we're doing is the same. They're doing the same thing we're doing now. Is putting some things in place to address these issues as they come up in the future.
Yeah.
Absolutely. This is part of the new normal, the changes. that are happening right in front of us. Any other questions or comments? TJ, I thank you so much for the work you put into this. A lot of work.
Yes, TJ, thank you.
Thank you so
TJ,
much.
I think, you know, the note that I sent to Glenn, so we have these other issues we need to do it too, right? Not agencies, but other requests for bus service, right? I know, Daryl, I believe we actually let the buses be used to transport some protesters to the side of a protest, right?
Yeah.
Which was great, right? But the challenge is to be where, you know, it's easy when kind of everyone would support something or not, right? The challenge gets to be, you know, we're supporting all taxpayers, and if there's some other, you know, issue that somebody wants to borrow a bus for that it doesn't quite fit into the, you know, what everyone would support, we need to make sure we create policies that help us be prepared for those.
Yeah, that's definitely part of your edict, Craig, and that will be and should be included. Just curious, what is our enforcement leverage for people wearing masks on our bus?
Well, CPD has told Mike and I they will not enforce somebody not wearing a mask. But what they did offer up is you know, any other rule that's you know that's posted on the bus, whether that's you know fighting or anything that could go on the bus, they would enforce that. So it's important for us to have the face requirement decal on the bus. I know that Jeff Munstock's team's putting that on there, so we can essentially get them for trespassing. And they will enforce trespassing.
What are we telling the operators right now if someone gets on the bus without it?
Yeah.
Well, if John wants to handle that or not.
And that can maybe be the next meeting. I just need to.
Okay, that's the next meeting. I asked it in the wrong meeting, I guess.
That's all right. Go ahead and answer it, John.
Yeah, the question was, what are we telling operators?
Yes, if someone gets on a bus without a mask.
So first we've applied a decal to the door itself, reminding passengers of the mask requirement. So when we pull up to the stop, it's right there as a visual reminder. And everybody needs to have a mask before they board. This way we can control that interaction so it doesn't have a situation where doors open, somebody boards without a mask. Now you've got a potential confrontation, and you've lost that control of the operating environment. So we're pulling up to the stop right there at eye level or just below. It's a visual reminder that the mask is required. We've been sending supervisors to respond to scenes on the road, supervisors with masks in their vehicles. So show up and just really to de-escalate and mitigate any kind of situation, offering somebody the mask if they need it, reminding them of the requirement. And then, of course, should the operator need any assistance at all, to call dispatch right away. Call dispatch so we can dispatch a supervisor if necessary. If it gets into the world where these de-escalating techniques not work, and we need to call law enforcement, facilitate all of that through dispatch. So we're using our operator team as well. We have a security team of operators and our safety professionals sharing this message in the club room with the operators. We've got the onboard decals. We've got regular reminders throughout the workplace. And the support team, the supervisors and dispatchers at the ready to assist.
And our marketing communications team has also been on Government Square several days to pass out masks to potential riders or riders who don't have one. We also have additional days that we'll be down at the square passing out masks for free to the community for those people that don't have a mask that ride the bus. So we're also trying to be proactive for those that may not have a mask to give them an opportunity to get one.
Have any of the bus drivers asked for face shields?
I'm not aware of any, John. Are you?
No, the questions come up more just from discussion or curiosity. It's a very tough item to get procurement-wise these days. Right now, we still have several different versions of masks. We have masks for employees. So those that need it, that's been overwhelmingly our response. It's just the face covering itself, not the shield.
And as a reminder, all of our buses have a shield on it to protect the operator. We don't put a bus out on the road unless there is an operational shield on that bus, but we're also still requiring the bus operators to wear masks even with the shield.
Right. Great. Any other questions or comments? None? I think we've done very well. We beat you, Heidi.
That's
All right.
Curfew, but that'll be a later discussion.
The curfew will be a later discussion. I want to get through some of this. And we've added two additional, the curfew and the requests from other organizations and agencies.
Yeah.
So, TJ, are you ready for what we've done today?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and then we'll schedule the next meeting. Does this time work for everybody? I'm not hearing anything. I'm trying to sign with you.
Yes.
Does this? Thanks.
30 minutes tricky, but otherwise.
Right. Okay, this works fine. All right. If nothing else,
I've been reminded that the mask requirement message is now on our destination signs as well. So as a bus approach, it's actually on the destination sign that a mask is required.
right there. Great. I just had gotten some comments. That's all. So it's okay. All right. Anything else? If nothing more, we can adjourn this meeting and go right into our planning and operating. Or do we have to go back out, or can we just continue on?
Nope, we just move on to the next meeting.
All right, then I'll shut my mic off and turn it over to Brendan.
Hi, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Begin the Planning and Operations Committee meeting. Metro, do you guys want to stand for another Pledge of Allegiance, or have we done that two times already? No one wants to say we won't do the pledge, so let's stand up and do the pledge.
To the flag, United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, everybody. We have a approval of the Planning and Operations Committee minutes from June the 9th, 2020, and I would take a motion to do that. It's in your board book.
So moved.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Great, thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Great. On to John Ravazio's good news.
Bring it on, John.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Morning. All right. We definitely have tons of good news to share with the committee this morning. It's certainly good news when you're operating at full service. We have been since June 28th. But as we've talked in prior committee meetings this morning, the exception is the Route 42. Ridership had fallen consistently through the months of the pandemic. Express ridership overall remains considerably down. We remain in close, regular contact with Butler County about how we will be ready to return to service when they're ready, and that we could turn on rather quickly with some operating and scheduling contingency strategies that we'll have in place. We also have the improved shields are being installed on the remainder of the fleet. So the first goal will be, and we've already accomplished this goal, shields on all of the fixed route buses, and then going back to replace the prior version with the new. We've also had discussion this morning about requiring passengers to wear face That includes a message in the destination signs, a decal on the door itself. So when the bus pulls up to the passengers at the stop, there's a decal right there. We also have audible announcements on board about the requirement. The requirement also applies to bus operators, and we've clarified that with the City Health Department. And we also have the dispatch teams and supervisory teams ready to respond to any issues out there, passengers that need masks, etc. Just to help everybody get used to this new habit as they use the service. And some other reminders, there's many things that we continue to do to keep our employees and customers safe. The rigorous cleaning continues. We're still using the sanitizing disinfectant product that kills coronavirus, actually kills the virus, and adheres to all poles and stanchions by using an electronic charge, a positive charge, helps it adhere to all the surfaces within the vehicles. And of course, the plexiglass barriers are there to protect everybody. So we're doing the face covering requirement in accordance with the city and the county and state requirements. And just as a reminder, we also need to keep focused on performing well, even in these conditions. And since June 28th, the return to service, we are operating at an 88.2% clip, which is certainly terrific. It's just a few weeks into service. We continue to monitor it on all our routes on a daily basis. Just wanted to share that highlight with the board as well. So digging a little deeper into performance, we've looked at our performance year to date. And year to date, we're operating at an 86.2% on-time performance rate, our best in 4 years. And there can be a temptation to look at that number and say, well, for half the time you've been operating in these pandemic conditions with decreased traffic and whatnot, certainly you should be operating on time, and that's true. But for the first part of the year, for nearly the first quarter before the pandemic really impacted service and ridership and traffic, we are operating at a 4-year high as well, January 1st through March 12th. So we were already well on our way to a fantastic year as far as on-time performance goes. In the chart below, I'd also like to highlight our early operation through this period. This board will remember that early operation as part of on-time performance is something we started targeting about 1 year ago. So when you consider the recent years here for this time period, this March 13th through the end of June, not only are we running at a good clip overall, but we've mitigated the early operation. When you consider the conditions that our operators have been facing from a performance standpoint, a schedule adherence standpoint, virtually no traffic and a ridership decrease, the factors that they help build our schedule, they build how we're expected to operate. And yet we've adhered to that schedule at a very good rate, only running 4.7% early. The prior 2 years, we were running at a similar early clip in normal conditions. So I think this speaks to a very good focus on schedule adherence. It can certainly do better. We'll always strive to do better, but definitely a good start to the year. I'd like to also highlight some community engagement. We had our Wi-Fi to Go program in partnership with local agencies. We served 5 area rec centers, providing access to Wi-Fi so that students in summer school can do their homework, people can take the census, just generally stay connected. And we've got a picture there of a few of our finest there using an access vehicle, an access Wi-Fi enabled vehicle to provide that mobile hotspot. We also continue to recognize our heroic employees, and the community is recognizing the employees as well. On July 7th at Government Square, there was a very nice event organized by retiree April Stevens in partnership with the Better Bus Coalition and local ATU. Volunteers wanted to show up and show their thanks for the employees and the tremendous work that they're doing Mr. Hoffmeister was out there, Councilmember Sittenfeld, Executive Board Member Milton Stevens, April's husband, and President Troy Miller as well. I've got some pictures here highlighting this effort here. Next slide, Chanel. There we go. You'll recognize Andy Shank over there on the left. That's Thaddeus getting in on the action. Next slide, please. Looking good, guys. How about that? Thaddeus there, Government Square. So much appreciated by the employees. We say our thanks to employees here, but it's also very special to hear that from the community as well. I'd also like to remind the board, this is on your calendars as well, to save the date for this Thursday evening, our virtual celebration of our Safety and Employee of the Year Awards. It's going to be a very fun event. Brandy's team has gotten extremely creative in terms of coming up with something special, even during these times of not being able to have our usual gathering. So I hope you can join us Thursday. Also, a special message of congratulations and thanks and farewell to Carlos Rowland, who recently retired for the third time from Metro. I'd like to say a lot of things happened in 1969, the moon landing and Woodstock, and Carlos Rowland started his career in Metro in the transit industry in 1969. You can imagine that. Nearly 50 years in the industry, starting as a fueler. He's done it all here at Metro, including many years in senior leadership and a stint as the interim COO. So it's bittersweet news for us. We will miss Carlos, but we're very happy for him as he tries again for the third time to start a much well-deserved retirement.
That's very cool.
And that's
with this organization, before this organization really was in charge of the bus system. So that's really unbelievable.
That's right. Carlos, his career predates SORTA. He's an old Cincinnati Transit Inc. employee. He was here for the transition. He's been here through it all.
Carlos has been an amazing asset to our organization and a friend. And we are truly going to miss Carlos. When we were struggling on leadership here, Carlos was in retirement. And I picked up the phone and I called him. And I said, buddy, I could use you. And he said, I'll be in tomorrow. We are truly going to miss Carlos. He's been a great asset to this organization.
That's wonderful news. And I hope he is leaving happy that we have accomplished so much with this organization and are putting it on a path to a county-wide system. So that's really cool that he was part of this all the way back before when it was still a private company. That's really awesome. All right, John, as always, thank you. Great update. I think we have 2 action items for today. So Pat, looks like, is in charge of one, and then Jeff can come up after that. So Pat, go ahead.
Yes, I'm here to seek approval of a resolution to allow us to renew our ITS Intelligent Technology Solutions Agreement to support our Maximo, which is our fleet maintenance software, the maintenance agreement on our maintenance software. It's a 1-year renewal with professional service at a price of $67,158. This is the option year on a renewal, it's the option year on a renewal that will not exceed $69,140.76, bringing the total contract to $136,298.76. The renewal begins August 1st and it runs through July 31st of next year. It will be funded with operating and local capital funds. Again, Maximo is the product used by SORTA for asset management, including our vehicles, inventory management, and purchasing. And we are leveraging an industry-specific module for transportation. This maintenance agreement allows us access to both, software patches, updates, as well as, support around the functioning of the application.
Great. Okay. I will move approval of this motion or this resolution.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Any questions from the group? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of moving this to the full board agenda on the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, hearing none. Thank you, Pat.
Can I ask a question, Brendan? Just a question. Is this a bid item or is it a continuation of a contract we already have?
It had been competitively bid last year, and we're just exercising the 1-year renewal.
Great.
So
Okay.
it's competitively bid, yes.
Great. Thank you.
Yes, sir. SORTA is asking for approval for a 3-year contract for pest control services that would start on August 1st with Ampulex Environmental Solutions. This contract would total $164,000 for 3 years, estimated cost of $54,000 per year. This is for treatment, pest control treatment of all fixed route buses and access buses, along with facilities, sales office, government square weekly treatments. And it's on the buses. It's a monthly treatment on all the buses, and then all the facilities. It would be a as needed basis, aside from the bus stop shelter or the bus stop sales office, which is a monthly treatment, and again, government square, which is a weekly treatment.
Okay, I will move approval of this action item. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, properly moved and seconded. Questions for Jeff or any of the SORTA team?
I do have a question. So, how many? We asked how many people to bid on this?
75. 75, yes. And COVID has had an effect on so many things that we don't actually think about. We got one bid back, and in reaching out to vendors, one of the things that we heard was they don't have the staff to take on such a large contract. All of our contracts have a termination for clause in them, which we'll take in the consideration as we move forward on this contract. We sent this out to 75 vendors, and there was only one that said they had the staff and the ability to handle the contract this size. Right now, because of COVID.
Wow.
It's interesting when you do things, just in your normal everyday things. You order something and you find out that there's so many factories that are shut down, or there's so many industries that are struggling with employees, that some of the fallout from COVID causes an organization that you just don't think of. It is absolutely positively amazing to send a bid to 75 vendors. And most of them tell you, we just don't have the staff to be able to accomplish this. It's something that we'll look at again real soon.
I guess I think I've heard a couple times from folks that there's also a belief that we sometimes stick with our same vendor. But yeah, this is
not the same vendor.
No, I know. But that's why I think sometimes people don't respond to us, because they think that's where we're going with it. But I think it's interesting. It makes it hard to sort of do those kind of things too if nobody's.
That was one of our concerns, Craig, and we actually reached out to several of those vendors, including the incumbent, and asked them, why they were not bidding, because it was one of the concerns that we had.
Daryl, and not right now, but in due time, I would like to meet with you and the procurement team just to look at how you operate. Of course, I get majority of my calls, and I've shared it with you, are from minority vendors who have the same sentiment that we're going the same way with the same vendors, and they're excluded. And or are there different ways that we could package it so that more minority participation would happen? So, in due time, I would love to just sit down with your team and just see how you operate, because I'm responding from where just my own understanding and not really knowing the culture or the intent of our own department.
All right, we'd love to do that, Glenn. I'll get it set up for us.
Thank you.
Okay, any additional questions? Okay, all those in favor of moving this to the consent agenda at our full board meeting next week, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, great. I believe those are our two action items. Is there anything else for the good of the order?
Brendan, this is Chanel. Did you want to move past ridership?
Oh, Matt, I'm so sorry. I just totally missed it. Matt, are you there still?
I'm here.
Tell us about ridership.
All right, I just have a few slides for you this month. Ridership. So looking at the 6-hour ridership, total ridership for the month of June was 475,621. That's about 51.5% off of original projections, but it's up from 390,000 in May. And local ridership, of course, makes up the bulk of that at 472,000. Express was 3,500 rides, keeping in mind we did not go back to full service until the end of June, June 28th. So most of June has only about 5 routes running. And year-to-date, ridership is about 4.2 million, and that's 32.9% lower than original forecast. So we have a couple KPIs to report this month. Passengers per hour for local service is 11.8. That's 8.9 below our KPI of 20.7. And Express is 2.2 passengers per trip. That's below our KPI, of course, but we'll keep an eye on that as we move into July with full service. Average weekday ridership was just under 18,000, Saturdays 12,100, and Sundays 79. And speak a little bit about ridership. Total ridership for access was 4,795. It's about 75% or 14,700 rides lower than original forecast. The bulk of those trips are all taking place on weekdays, 4,400 or so on weekdays. Only 268 on Saturdays and 143 on Sundays. And year-to-date, total ridership is 58,906. We're about 48.8% lower than original. And those are the numbers I have for you this month, if there's any questions.
Great. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you all.
Mr. Chairman, are you expecting that we're going to come back together in person at some point?
Yes, I am expecting at some point we will come back together. I don't know exactly when, right, with the new restrictions and things, right? Daryl, I know you've been working on making sure we have a place we can socially distance and stuff.
Yes, from the staff's perspective, we miss you guys and are looking forward to the day we can all be together again.
Great answer.
Okay. Mr. Chair, do you have anything else you want to add?
No, good meetings today, right? Obviously, we're still working through some of the details heading towards October with the funding model shift. More to come on that.
All right, everybody. Thank you. I hope you have a wonderful Tuesday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
God bless. Stay safe.